In the vast expanse of the ocean, in the winding currents of rivers, and even in the stillness of freshwater lakes, fish thrive in ways that seem almost magical to us. They're perfectly adapted to their environments, navigating through the water with ease. But their lives aren't as simple as they appear. You might be surprised to learn that despite living in water, fish have their own unique challenges when it comes to hydration. In today's episode of The Story of Animals, we'll answer the question, do fish get thirsty? Before we dive into the lives of fish, let's take a moment to understand what thirst really is. For humans and other land animals, thirst is the body's way of signaling that we need more water. It's an active sensation that drives us to drink. Our bodies constantly lose water through sweating, breathing, and urination. And if we don't replace it, we become dehydrated. But what about fish? They don't sweat, and they certainly don't sip from a glass of water. Yet, like all living organisms, their bodies must carefully regulate fluids to survive. This process, known as osmoregulation, is crucial for maintaining the right balance of water and salts inside their bodies. And here's where things get interesting. Whether or not a fish gets thirsty depends entirely on where it lives. Imagine living in a world where every drop of water around you is making you dehydrated. That's exactly the challenge that saltwater fish face. The ocean is full of salt, and due to the laws of osmosis, water naturally moves from areas of low salt concentration to high salt concentration. The bodies of saltwater fish contain less salt than the surrounding seawater, meaning they are constantly losing water to their environment. To combat this, saltwater fish actively drink seawater. Yes, they actually swallow it. But drinking salty water presents another challenge. Too much salt can be toxic. To get rid of the excess salt, their bodies have evolved specialized mechanisms. Their kidneys produce small amounts of concentrated urine, and their gills contain special cells that actively pump salt back into the ocean. It's a complex balancing act, but without it, these fish would shrivel up and die. So in a way, saltwater fish do get thirsty, but it's not the same type of thirst we experience. Their bodies instinctively tell them to drink, not because they feel a parched sensation, but because it's essential for survival. Now, let's take a look at freshwater fish, those living in lakes, rivers, and streams. Unlike their ocean-dwelling relatives, freshwater fish have the opposite problem. Their bodies contain more salt than the water around them, meaning water is constantly flooding into their bodies through osmosis. If they weren't careful, they would absorb too much water and quite literally burst. To deal with this, freshwater fish have developed an entirely different strategy. They don't drink water at all. Instead, their bodies are designed to get rid of excess water. Their kidneys work overtime, producing large amounts of very dilute urine to flush out the extra liquid while holding on to the salt they need. Meanwhile, their gills actively absorb salt from the water, ensuring they maintain a healthy balance. So do freshwater fish get thirsty? Not really. Unlike saltwater fish, they don't need to drink, and their challenge is actually the opposite, getting rid of excess water while retaining salt. Some fish are even more impressive. Euryhaline fish, such as salmon, eels, and certain species of sharks, have the extraordinary ability to survive in both freshwater and saltwater. Take salmon, for example. These remarkable fish are born in freshwater streams, migrate to the ocean to live as adults, and then return to freshwater to spawn. You might be surprised to learn that some fish don't live in water all the time at all. In desert environments, where water is scarce, certain species have evolved extreme survival tactics. Take the desert pupfish, for example. These tiny, resilient fish can survive in water that's as salty as the ocean or as fresh as a mountain stream. Some even burrow into mud when their pools dry up, waiting for the next rainstorm to bring them back to life. Their ability to endure extreme changes in salinity makes them some of the toughest fish on the planet. Unlike most fish, they can rapidly adjust their osmoregulation strategy depending on their environment, drinking water when it's salty and avoiding drinking when it's fresh. So, do fish get thirsty? The answer is both yes and no, depending on the species and its habitat. Saltwater fish do drink water to replace lost fluids, while freshwater fish avoid drinking because they already take in too much water naturally. And for fish that move between both environments, their bodies can switch between these strategies as needed. While they may not experience thirst in the way humans do, their bodies are constantly working to maintain a delicate balance of water and salt. It's a testament to the incredible diversity of life beneath the waves, where evolution has crafted countless solutions to the challenges of surviving in water. Now, it's time to see how much you've learned from today's episode. We've got 3 fun trivia questions coming up. Ready? Let's start. Question 1. Why do saltwater fish need to drink water? The correct answer is A, because they constantly lose water to their environment. Due to osmosis, saltwater fish lose water through their skin and gills, so they must actively drink seawater to stay hydrated. Let's try another question. Question 2. What happens if freshwater fish drink too much water? The correct answer is C. They could take in too much water and die. Freshwater fish constantly absorb water through osmosis, so they don't need to drink. If they took in too much, their bodies wouldn't be able to handle the excess fluid. Let's move on to the last question for this episode. Question 3. Which type of fish can survive in both freshwater and saltwater? The correct answer is B. Euryhaline fish. Euryhaline fish, like salmon and eels, can switch between freshwater and saltwater by adjusting how their bodies regulate salt and water. Great job if you got all 3 questions correct. If you missed any, don't worry. You've just learned some fascinating facts about fish and how they manage water in their environments. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution.